Her name is Nikki Saelee-McCain, a daughter, a sister, a mother of 4, woman who should be here today, living her daily routines, sharing meals, laughing with her children, planning her next steps. Instead, her story is frozen in time, and the questions about her last days continue to echo louder with every passing month. The early chapters of this case begin in May of 2024 in Shasta County, California. Nikki had been keeping in contact with loved ones, balancing family responsibilities, navigating challenges at home, and trying to build a sense of stability for her children. Like many families, hers had ups and downs. But those who knew Nikki say she always circled back to the people who mattered most. That dedication makes what followed so painful. On the night of May 17, 2024, Nikki was still connected with family. By the early morning of May 18th, communication ended. Calls went unanswered. Hours stretched into a silence that grew heavy. At first, people reassured themselves. Maybe she was busy, maybe her phone had died, maybe tomorrow she'd explain. But by the time the hours rolled into days, reassurance gave way to dread. Then came the discovery that changed everything. On May 25th, Nikki's Chevy Avalanche was found off Highway 36, near the Beegum Gorge bridge. West of Red Bluff, it was a place that didn't make sense for her vehicle to be, and investigators quickly realized the vehicle itself carried troubling signs. The family's hope that Nikki had chosen to leave for a few days, or that she would suddenly call, started to feel less likely. Investigators grew cautious but firm. What they found in that vehicle would later become one of the anchors of this entire case. Throughout 2024 and into early 2025, the investigation built slowly. Physical evidence was tested. Digital footprints were pieced together. Timelines were scrutinized. Statements from friends, family, and community members were logged. Through all of it, one thing remained painfully clear. Nikki had not simply walked away. There was no trail of activity suggesting a voluntary disappearance. No banking, no reliable sightings, no communication with her children or siblings. Nothing that pointed to a life continuing elsewhere. By March of 2025, the case was officially reclassified. No longer treated as a simple missing persons search, it became a homicide investigation. For families, that kind of announcement lands heavily. It is not only an acknowledgement of loss, but also a sign that investigators believe the evidence points in one direction. The absence of Nikki's body did not stop the case from moving forward. Investigators had gathered enough from the vehicle, from digital records, and from other sources to press forward with that classification. And then, in late summer of 2025, everything accelerated. On August 21, 2025, authorities in Shasta County announced the arrest of Nikki's husband, Tyler McCain, was booked into jail and held without bail. Charges were weighty. Homicide with a special circumstance allegation that the act was carried out in order to prevent Nikki from testifying in a separate domestic violence case pending against him. That allegation changed the scope of the story. It was no longer just about a missing woman. It was now about silencing, about control, and about the ripple effects of legal proceedings already in motion before Nikki vanished. When the arrest was announced, officials explained that the charges were supported by multiple forms of evidence. Investigators cited digital records, communications, movements, and timelines that, they said, placed Tyler in critical locations during critical windows. They pointed to forensic testing done on Nikki's vehicle, where results confirmed physical traces consistent with harm and consistent with transport. They described testimony from individuals who had come forward, including at least one account that involved an alleged admission of responsibility. And, perhaps most compellingly, they spoke about the consistency between those pieces. Physical evidence, digital records, and human testimony all aligning. The decision to file charges without Nikki's body was significant. These are often called nobody cases, and they are challenging for prosecutors. But across the United States, convictions in such cases are possible when the evidence is layered and consistent. In Shasta County, officials made it clear they believed they had enough to move forward, even as the search for Nikki herself continues. For the family, August 2025 was both a breaking point and a beginning. On one hand, the arrest validated what they had feared for more than a year, that Nikki's disappearance was not voluntary, and that she had suffered at the hands of someone she knew. On the other hand, it marked the start of a long legal journey, where hearings, motions, An eventual trial would require them to sit through detailed evidence, painful testimony, and arguments from both sides. The special circumstance allegation added another layer. Prosecutors alleged that Tyler's motive included preventing Nikki from testifying in a prior domestic matter. If proven, that allegation elevates the seriousness of the charges. It frames the act not only as a personal tragedy, but also as an attack on the justice system itself, attempting to silence a witness. Defense attorneys, of course, will challenge that claim. They may argue that timelines don't match, or that statements attributed to Tyler are unreliable, or that forensic results are open to interpretation. That is the adversarial process. Two narratives presented side by side, with a jury tasked to decide. Meanwhile, investigators have emphasized that the search for Nikki is not over. The absence of her remains is the most painful fact for the family. They want to bring her home. They want a place to grieve properly. They want the dignity of closure. To this day, the $30,000 reward remains available for information leading to Nikki's recovery. Federal and state agencies, including the FBI and the California Department of Justice, remain involved in supporting the case. The arrest, however, changed the community's outlook. For months, there had been whispers, speculation, and frustration. People wondered whether the case was stalling. People questioned whether justice would come. The announcement in August 2025 answered those doubts with a resounding message. Investigators had been building, carefully and quietly, until they believed the case was ready. And when they stepped forward with confidence. The courtroom process will stretch for months, possibly years. Pre-trial hearings will dissect digital records, the times when phones connected and disconnected from towers, the gaps in communication, the records that place individuals near Beegum Gorge. Forensic experts will testify about what was found inside Nikki's vehicle. Witnesses will recount words spoken before and after Nikki vanished. Defense attorneys will press them, testing their memory, their consistency, their motives. Prosecutors will argue that the evidence aligns too neatly to be coincidence. The children will live through all of this. That reality cannot be softened. They will see headlines. They may be called to hearings. They will carry the weight of public attention. And yet, throughout, they will continue to carry their mother's memory. Every public mention of Nikki is also a private reminder for them. Every story told here is, at its core, about preserving her name and her humanity. For the broader public, August 2025 will be remembered as the month the waiting shifted to action. For over a year, the family begged for answers. They put up flyers, they organized searches, they held on to each other. And then at last the system responded with charges and with the statement that they believed they knew who was responsible. But the story is not finished. Until Nikki is found, until her family can lay her to rest, until a courtroom resolves the charges, the questions remain. And so does the request. If anyone knows anything about where Nikki is, or about the final movements in her timeline, please come forward. The family deserves to know. The community deserves closure. And Nikki deserves to be brought home. Her story is still unfolding. Her name is still spoken. And the search, both for answers and for her, is not over. Thank you for watching Fatal Secrets of True Crime. Subscribe for more stories like this. Real crimes, hidden truths, and the secrets they tried to bury. Your support helps keep these stories alive and the pressure on for answers. Till next time, remember, every secret eventually comes to light.